My name is Stanislas. I'm a student of Latvian University. My question is from Dmitry Medvedev and Vladimir Putin rhetoric. We can understand Russia in few next years will increase military expenditure. Well, is this a threat for NATO, and will NATO react, and how? Thank you.
Well, at the last NATO summit, or rather last NATO-Russia summit, which took place in Lisbon in November 2010, we decided to develop what we call a true strategic partnership between NATO and Russia. And it makes sense because basically I think we share security challenges and security concerns. We are faced with the same security challenges. Economically, I also think we have shared interests. Actually, NATO nations are a main trading partner for Russia, and also a main, if you look at Russia's investments in other countries, a major part of Russian investments take place in NATO countries. So we have vital security interests together, we have vital economic interests together. So it makes sense to develop a true strategic partnership. And if we could, it would really improve the overall security situation in the Euro-Atlantic area, including here in the Baltic region. And I would say that the recent announcement, and I'm among other things thinking of President Medvedev's announcement of the 23rd of November. This announcement is definitely not in line with the decision we took in Lisbon in November 2010 to develop a true strategic partnership. On the contrary. And furthermore, really seen from a Russian point of view, I think it is a complete waste of money if Russia intends to invest heavily in an offensive military capability directed towards an artificial enemy, an enemy that doesn't exist. We have no intention whatsoever to attack Russia. Why should we? So why should they invest a lot of money in such offensive military capabilities directed towards us? That money would be spent much more effectively in job creation in Russia and modernization of the Russian society. If Russia is threatened, it's definitely not from the West, and I would encourage the Russian leadership to focus on real threats and not an artificial enemy that doesn't exist. Let me add to this that already 15 years ago we adopted a NATO-Russia document called the Founding Act. It's really a framework for cooperation between NATO and Russia, the very first common document called the Founding Act. In that Founding Act we adopted 15 years ago, NATO and Russia clearly state that we will not use force against each other. So why build such offensive military capabilities? We have signed a document that we will not use force against each other. It doesn't make sense. Simply, it doesn't make sense. And 10 years ago, we established a NATO-Russia Council in Rome 10 years ago. Putin was there, I was there. And there was an excellent atmosphere, a good, positive spirit, a new start, so to speak. We decided to establish this very special relationship between NATO and Russia. Russia is the only partner that has a specific council within which 29 countries, 28 NATO allies and Russia cooperate together on equal footing. And in that whole context, of course, it doesn't make sense to build offensive military capabilities directed against us. I hope that we can continue to develop a positive cooperation with Russia. And all I've said here shouldn't overshadow the fact that actually we have seen progress during the last 2 years in our cooperation with Russia. We have strengthened our cooperation on Afghanistan, on counter-narcotics, counter-terrorism, and recently Russia tabled some proposals as to how we could strengthen cooperation on counter-piracy. We adopted these proposals. So we have a lot of examples of strengthened cooperation, and let's continue on that path.